Welcome to the Church Online Podcast. Hi, I'm Jason Morris. And with me, I have today John Mitchell. And this is going to be a fun conversation because I don't know that much about him. He shot me an email and gave me some ideas that after bouncing them off of the rest of the Church Online Podcast team, Kenny told me, he said, dude, you need to seriously make an episode about this because this is one of those topics that just doesn't get talked about very much among people who do church online and among people who, post their things online, because the conversation inevitably is about copyrighted content, what do you do with music and all that kind of stuff. And so I have with me John Mitchell, who gave me a very interesting proposal. But before we get into all that fun stuff of nuts and bolts, I just kind of want to get to know you because all I got was this email. So tell me a little bit about you and tell me what you do and how you got into this space and what you see, what your vision is for it.
Yeah. So, man, thank you so much for just the invitation. And little backstory on me. I've been in the church, volunteering, working, contracting, all kinds of different ways since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I think I started playing drums here at Church on the Move in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when I was 11, I believe.
Oh, dude!
And just couldn't really play. Like in a small classroom in the back of the, like one of the small areas that they had opportunity, and just stuck with it. And I think I've literally been involved in worship in some capacity here for 26 years now.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a fun run. So, but yeah, I grew up, loved being involved in church and in church culture, and obviously just out of high school went straight into a job at the church. I didn't really know a lot, but I started working in their television department, and at the time it was huge. It was like 30-person crew, and we were shooting all kinds of stuff, and so I got a really great education on film and production with that, and then started a business of my own a few years later. Jumped out and started a Creative Audio Lab, and so I've had that company now for 13 years, and it's been a really fun run. A lot of advertising work, a lot of custom music for advertising, mixing, sound design, all that kind of stuff. And then a few years ago, we were just kind of talking as a group of musicians, as a team, and just going, man, like, how could we expand our influence? How could we connect with more people? The desire to do custom music and do music was huge in all of us, and so many other artists that we knew. And so we just kind of started putting the pieces together and built this little micro team of really, honestly, some amazingly talented people, talented designers and business thinkers, and put this site together, Music from the Lab. And started doing, trying to do some really creative licensing products to be competitive in the marketplace, but also to really take care of churches, because churches were kind of we felt like, sort of run over in the licensing world a little bit. So
so explain that a little bit, because I've had my own experiences with licensing snafus here and there, and it feels like sometimes it's almost arbitrary, where it's like I'll get somebody will say, oh, you can't do that, and it's like, yeah, but last year I thought I could, and then it's like it just feels so random. So since you're in the space, I know that a lot of our folks that listen to the podcast, that do online ministry, this is just one of those things that's always in the back of their mind. It's like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I should do this. Is it because just because it's technologically possible doesn't mean it's always legal.
Sure.
And even if it's legal, there are still some little, from what I understand, some ethical gray area nuances, especially from being from the church world, that you probably don't want to go into anyway. And so just kind of unpack a little bit of that, because I think you're right. Many times the church gets the short end of the stick, because I feel like there are enough things in the law that speak to, like, you know, using it for education, or, even using it for, comedy, or, things of that nature. For whatever reason, the church doesn't fit a lot of those things, even though sometimes you do comedy in church and sometimes you do education in church. And
Right.
so just unpack a little bit of that, some of the things that you and your team have kind of worked through.
Yeah. So, probably the biggest one when licensing really kind of, especially music licensing, came on board for the church. I feel like there's a company called Music Bed that was a real, kind of a first top runner company that was servicing licenses for the church. And a lot of, actually, a lot of those guys, I don't know if many people know this, but many of those guys came out of the church. Many of the artists that were a part of that company and are a part of that company came out of the church. But I think they began this journey of figuring out what these licenses look like, because it was this huge market that really was just beginning to get tapped into on a grand scale. Obviously, churches had done licensing and CCLI and all that kind of stuff for years, but this
Right.
was more custom. And so, allowing you to, to brand what you're doing, or to customize your own video stories with music and really build all of that. And so, I mean, really, I feel like the market. You said it is a little arbitrary, like it, but it's kind of just evolved. It's begun and then just continued to evolve. And so, back in the day, some of the things would be like, okay, I licensed this piece of music specifically for, this video I'm going to play at my church, this story. and
Right.
and many people didn't understand the nuance of licensing. It was like, well, I bought that music. I
Right.
bought I bought that track, and it's like, so I can use it. I can use it wherever I want. Well, no, you licensed it, to that specific video, and if you want to license it to another video, that's a whole another fee. That's another cost associated with that. So all of this framework for the structure of the business model began to just be established, and I think churches kind of were just sort of figuring it out, for a long time. Just, okay, well, I didn't get in trouble for that, so okay, I think I'm okay. Oh, got in trouble for that. It's just kind of like not really knowing, sort of baby stepping your way through it. And so, thankfully, the industry has continued to evolve, and I feel like the products that have been able to, the products that have come available, and really the way that the companies have evolved with membership and different things, have gotten a lot more, sort of, because they had to be competitive. We've all had to become more blanket license oriented and offer products that we could, not have so much red tape on, which is great. And honestly, is great for the church because it's much easier to work within that framework.
Yeah.
But there's always been um, this weird glitch with streaming, with live stream.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's a very, very difficult thing for the industry to license for, because, and there's some real reasons for that. When you're streaming, there's really nobody knows what you're streaming to, how many people are, watching. Like, you could be streaming the Grammys, and that's a license. Or you could be streaming, your church online feed, and it's 150 people.
Mhm.
And so there's this huge gap of, and really nobody has really wanted to fill that gap, because it's just so there's no way they can really get the monetary value out and control that, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
so what we did is we just said, man, well, let's come along and fill that gap. Let's make that easy for church, because we were having the same problem at Church on the Move here. Just talking to our technical director, just going, I can't put any music on there. I can't put music, playing before we have music that's playing in
Yes.
our lobbies. I can't play that.
Right.
I can't, legally, there's these things binding me
Or it'll
into.
get algorithmically flagged, which is another issue too, where even if I have, I could, I could go even a step farther and purchase the video or the music, purchase the license, and it hits YouTube, and YouTube doesn't know that I've done any of that. And instantly I get flagged. So
Yeah.
it's almost like it feels like for us, it's almost like a no-win scenario, even if we do the right things.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are those algorithms now. So I mean, it's gotten to where for a while you could maybe get away with certain things, and now
Mhm.
it's gotten so much more, regulated, and they've made ways to find, people that are breaking the law in that way.
Well, yeah, and then
And
you have some guy out in Pakistan who claimed it, and he doesn't own it. He's just
right,
trying to monetize whatever's out there. And
right.
so, because some guy out there claimed it on the other side of the world, now I've got to deal with this algorithmic flag.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I mean, honestly, that was like at least was something that we discovered that was like, man, well, we can, that's an easy thing. We can just, let's provide music that we can license to churches, specifically churches that are looking for, man, I want to be able to play something in my lobby. I want to be
Mm.
able to play that same thing online, and I want to be able to play that across all campuses. Can you just give me a license that works for that? And so we're like, yes, that's totally fine. So that was kind of how we started working more with Church on the Move, and several other churches in that way. But it was really just trying to make meet a need and go, yeah, okay, that works. That'll we can provide that product super easily and economically, and not and really you're never going to hear from us again. We're just gonna, like,
Uh-huh.
you bought that stuff. We know what you're using it for. Don't worry about it. In fact,
Okay.
I had a guy reach out the other day who was like really wanting to be due diligent about, well, I bought those, I bought those licenses, but I liked the music, and I actually ended up using one of them on a story video or something. And I was like, man, it's cool. You bought the license, you bought the license for all that stuff. It's we're not coming back to you. So it's kind of just giving that official blanket license type idea, to where you just don't have to worry about it. So that was our heart. And honestly, all of us have a huge heart for the church. And my heart for this, even doing this interview, I don't want to take advantage of the church. I think there's been so many people that have come and through the years, and I've been in the advertising industry for years, and so I've seen the underbelly. I know the backstory to a lot of that, and my heart is, we just want to serve the church. We want to serve the kingdom, and not take advantage of her, um,
Mhm.
and her ability, but just help in any way we can. So that's really the heart um, you know behind that streaming license, and some of the things that we've done specific to that, just making it easy.
So that sounds awesome. In fact, for our church, we run into that same problem. We run like a Spotify playlist in the lobby, and while we've purchased a license to do that in the lobby, the mics will pick up when we're doing online in between services, and it'll get flagged. And there's
Wow.
all kinds of gymnastics that we have to do on the back end with mixing the soundboard so that music doesn't come through. Um,
Right.
then the bad part about that is that the folks online, they're watching like digital signage, it's in between services and stuff like that. But then they're just getting complete silence.
Right.
They're just watching, digital signage, the slide thing going, but it just feels weird. It's
Yeah.
just not, you don't get the same vibe as, you hear little voices in the room, it's like, oh yeah, things about ready to start, all that's just like nothing,
Right.
because of this licensing thing. So I could totally see, even our church using a service like this. So let's just say, okay, we've got church X, or let's just say Westside for that matter. Let's say we wanted to do this. What would it look like for just a church to start from scratch and say, what do we do
Yeah.
to get access to some of this royalty-free licensed music so that we can just use it wherever and not have to worry about it?
Absolutely. So the easiest way, and what we've done, for several churches that have done this type of license, is put together a package, and just say, hey, let's put together, that's not a huge window of time there that you're having to fill on the online one. But if you're wanting to have music that plays across your campus, you're really essentially creating a playlist that you've got access to. So, we've done like 10 tracks. So say you get 10 and we bundle that together in a price for you. And then it's yours, and you don't have to worry about it again unless you want to come and get more tracks. And then, we've done secondary bundles and third bundles and stuff like that for churches. So, but I think also, we've actually been talking, even as a company, just how we can even better facilitate just the size of what your church is. And so even right now, I think what we'd love to do is really just encourage people to reach out, send us an email, let it be personal, and we don't mind that personal connection at all when it comes to the church. In fact, we love it. So yeah, just, and let us find out a little bit more about what the size of your church is, what's going on, and really make, instead of just saying, here's the price, being able to give you a price that's maybe, a little bit more form fitted to exactly what's going on at your church. So, that way you're not one price for, 5,000 member church or
Right.
500 member church. So yeah, that's the easiest thing. Just, you can email us, john@musicfromthelab.com. It goes straight to me, or info@musicfromthelab.com. Either one of those will come into our team, and we can respond and start talking with you guys. Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's what we'd recommend.
There's like so many churches out there and so many different styles of churches out there, which is a good thing. What kind of, and I know that music plays a big piece of that.
Yes.
So when you guys are like putting together a package, what's your portfolio? Do you have like stuff for kids? Do you have stuff for students? Do you have, all the way from like stuff that feels like high church classical all the way to like hip hop, house type,
Sure.
what kind of stuff do you have that would be for different styles of churches?
I think so. So that's the one area that we're continuing to develop. Obviously, when you start a music licensing company, you've got to
Right.
start somewhere. So our portfolio isn't massive, but I do feel like the music that we do have, there are lots of genres, lots of different things represented, and we do have quite a bit of music that's in this, fits the vibe of like, just a lobby vibe or something like that. There's, when you get more specific to the kids stuff, different stuff like that. I mean, we love to know about the needs that people are looking for. Actually, that helps us a lot. Lets us know, we can let our artists know what to be working on, what's going to be useful. And so, but at the same time, you might not find everything, especially right now, because we're a younger company in our track. So, but yeah, I mean, that's I would say you're definitely going to find something that you can use. The amount of a specific genre that you're going to find might be, a little bit more limited if you're looking for all, hip hop or something like that, or all kids or something like that. You'd be a little bit limited. So yeah, but again, those things, knowing those needs, if we've got churches that have, we would love this if you had it, we can start working on that, and our artists are excited about that too, because it's like, great, we know where the need is, we know what to, what we're writing for. So,
well, that says a lot too, with the way that you're willing to make it personal. I think each church would probably love to have their own personal part to play in this as well. And I think that together, the greater body of Christ, the Big C Church, we can begin to have kind of a larger and more broad toolkit with which to work with, that would reflect each different style of church that ministers to different types of people. I mean, we need different types of churches, we need different types of styles of music that are out there. So I'm assuming that when you're talking genres and all that kind of stuff, that the vast majority of your portfolio is instrumental, or is there other stuff that is like more worship related? Give me an idea there.
Yeah. Definitely very instrumental portfolio. So there are some lyrical songs in there and stuff like that, but yeah, most, I would say 90% is instrumental, and it's really very much built from the from our roots, which our roots are in commercial advertising,
Hmm.
kind of. If you start browsing the library, I think it'll make sense right away. You're just like, oh, okay, I see what these guys do. It's great music. It's great vibes. The forms of some of the evolutions of the music are really built to go with a story, or
Hmm.
built to go with some sort of promo, that kind of thing. That was a lot of the music we already had in our collection was based around stuff that would have been used on commercials and stuff you may have even heard on a commercial, who knows.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I would say definitely instrumental, and promo based, or just kind of good vibes based,
Okay.
positive vibes music. If that makes.
Okay, great. Okay,
Yeah.
so at a church, they look at the portfolio. There's a piece of music they love. They want to stick it in a video that they produce during a particular sermon that gets live streamed. So, and it gets live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, all of the places, right?
Right.
So, how does that music that they purchase not get flagged in YouTube?
Right. Yeah, because so that's a great question. So everything that that YouTube is going to catch, it has been uploaded to a database, where it has actually, sort of snapshotted that song or that piece of music, and so now it knows to look for it, right? And those are basically any type of music that is a a fully produced song, anything that has a label attached to it, to the production of it, or even a specific mix engineer could even, or a mix on the mix side of the actual publishing, that can also actually be uploaded to the algorithm as well, and it will catch it. So it's really talking about popular music, as a whole. I mean, any music that is famous or popular, or an artist that's
Right,
developing as an artist, they're putting their music out there. They are they are not wanting people to misuse, obviously, and it's understandable, misuse that music, because they're trying to, that's their living, they want to make
right,
money with music. So this model is different in that the um, the monetizing of the music isn't connected to the artist. It's not connected to a specific song that is going to, has is tied to a label, which is then tied to whoever knows what
right,
else it's tied to. It's just someone who's saying, I'm putting this music up and I'm fine with it being used in this way, and that's how I'm going to make the revenue stream off of it, is just from licenses. I'm fine with that, and it's these types of licenses. So yeah, it's kind of two different worlds. You've
right,
got the publishing side, the label side, the artist side, where it's really all connected to an actual individual, their brand, what they're trying to do, as an artist, a band, or a singer, versus a musician, or even it could be a singer as well, or an artist that's saying, I'm going this avenue. I'd like to use this avenue to just generate some revenue, off of this music or whatever. So there kind of are two different paths. Everything on this side of the path is going to be, the algorithm is going to catch, right? And then everything on this side of the path is going to be free and clear. So, and that goes, honestly, that goes with many of your other music licensing companies as well,
right,
uh, that are structured like Music from the Lab. So um, it's just, you want to definitely steer clear of anything that's popular, or that is tied to a specific artist, on Spotify, or that, that has a brand going with that, they're going to protect that brand, and that's what they're doing. So
Okay, so when you're doing this licensing stuff, if a particular church, well, I can't imagine a church ever doing this, but I could imagine an artist doing this, purchasing one of your tracks, using it, and then licensing it themselves, is that a possibility? And then it could get
um,
flagged that way?
you know, I suppose that's probably a little bit of a possibility. I think that's a really good question. I honestly, I think the nature of the music itself is not as um, when you've got, well, just take instrumental music versus
Right. Yeah.
songs.
Yeah. It's
There's
different
such a
enough.
difference there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really good question. I've never had that happen, and I've never even
Well, if
I'll
it's
say,
never happened, it's probably, I mean, if it's never happened to you, then fine. I'm probably just making stuff up because my brain works that way.
I mean, you basically sign, when you use the site and you become a member of any of the music licensing sites, you sign an agreement. You say I accept, and that obviously covers all of those types of things.
Mhm.
And I guess if they were ever found doing that, then you could be like, hey, you can't do that. But but yeah, I don't think it's like a big market on for that
Yeah.
type of thing. So
Well, that's great. I think, John, you've hit a really nice spot in the marketplace that actually addresses a particular need that a lot of us in online church have had for a long, long time. And the idea of there actually being a solution to this problem is great. So I hope that this will just help us all as an online Big C church up our game, get compliant, and then we can just be free to do whatever we want to. Because
yeah,
I think a lot of times, part of the reason why we have our own streaming services and all these other kinds of things, because we're afraid of getting flagged, where some of
yeah,
these churches could actually save a lot of money getting started with online ministry by using some of these other services that are actually really good, like YouTube and
yep,
Facebook and all these other things, if they just got their licensing straight, you know.
yes,
And then once you could actually, overall, bottom line, you could save money because then you don't have to pay for your own private streamer and all that other kind of stuff. You can just
right,
let it be free, let it just go out there, and then you don't have to pay for all that extra overhead because YouTube and Facebook is already doing that for you.
yep,
So getting the licensing straight, though, is something that has in the past been so just, I don't know, it just feels so random.
yeah,
You never know what's going to happen. And so it's like for me, as especially in like West Side here, we have such an established brand, and our channels we've been doing for now, like our YouTube channel is like decades of archival footage and stuff like that. And the
wow,
more you have that's invested in these areas of these platforms, the more valuable they become, and the more risky it is if you do get flagged,
yeah,
because if they shut you down, well, you just lost 10 years of work,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
just going away randomly. So making sure that we have our licensing straight is a big deal.
yeah,
It may not be as big of a deal perhaps for these guys that are just getting started, because if YouTube shuts your channel down, it's like, that's no big deal. We'll just start another one.
right,
I've talked and consulted with churches where they just start up these random, YouTube channels because they know that if they get flagged or whatever, it's just like, oh, that's no big deal. Let's do another one.
right,
It's like, but
right,
in my mind, I'm thinking, dude, you're missing out on all of this wonderful SEO and all of this wonderful branding that you
yeah,
can have with an established brand that has thousands and thousands of subscribers on it.
yep.
But if you do that, you have to be very careful then to protect that. And
It's a big front door of your church.
yeah,
It really is. And I think the more that we see it as that, it helps, because people aren't venturing into churches as much, these days.
right.
We've got to go where they are. And I know that's a huge conversation, I'm sure, that everybody's been a part of already. But yeah, just realizing it's the front door, and let's let's do it right so we can, continue to operate and have influence in that marketplace and getting out there to where they are. Yeah, for sure.
That's great. Well, thanks, John, for developing this tool so that the rest of us can, up our game in the online space and, expand the kingdom and work together so we can all go home.
Yeah, that's right.
I appreciate what you're doing, man.
Hey, thank you. It's great to meet you.
Yeah.